Hello friends, Kesenya here with the tarot report for the solar eclipse on June 10. So for those of you who've been watching my videos for a good while, hi guys, nice to see you back. For those of you who didn't, my name is Kesenya and I'm the tarot reader at Kesenya's Moore's YouTube channel. So let us begin and see what's in store for us for June 10. So yeah, solar eclipse is happening in the during the new moon in Gemini, and what I wanted to talk about for a few minutes before we start the reading is basically the kind of significance of the solar eclipse in general, because like I suppose that these days we get very much excited because it is something to look forward to. I don't think it's going to be visible in all parts of the world, but in a nutshell, what's happening is that it is basically the same new moon, so the moon and the sun are conjunct, but in the case of the solar eclipses, they're happening in the proximity to the nodes, to the lunar nodes, which are currently in Sagittarius and in Gemini. And when the nodes are around, the solar eclipse occurs, so the moon overshadows the sun as well. It's not going to be a total solar eclipse, it's the annular solar eclipse, which means that there still would be the so-called ring of fire around the moon, but nonetheless it is a solar eclipse. And you can see, like, you know, if I don't know, if you even try to Google, you would see that so many websites are writing about how you can check the solar eclipse, what you need to do, what time it's happening, how can you see it, which like special classes do you need. But as a historian, I just wanted to say that it never was perceived as something to be admired or to be looked upon. Like, you know, in general, the sun is associated most often than not with the ruling figure, especially in Asia. The sun is the emperor, and so the solar eclipse was perceived as something overshadowing this power. So those are usually times of great change. If I don't know, if you are like, I think that it is very much embraced by the popular culture, like in books, in movies, in cartoons. The topic of solar eclipse is very much employed as the time when the sudden change is occurring. But nonetheless, all we can do is embrace this change and just hope for the best. I'm not saying it's going to be, I don't know, an ominous solar eclipse, but eclipses, they are agents of big shifts, of big transformations on the universal scale. That's how they were always perceived. And the eclipse is happening in Gemini, yeah, and pretty much, I think, very, very close to the Mercury, which is retrograde. So it is like, you know, the shift which we are about to experience, it is the shift which probably is related to the realm ruled by the Gemini as such. Speaking of the Gemini, I find it one of the most exciting zodiacal signs, primarily because I'm personally obsessed with the mythology of twins in general. In tarot, the card of the Gemini is lovers, so the 6 major arcana, lovers, yeah, which is a little bit probably surprising because we don't consider twins to be that way. But in the mythology, in the archetype of Gemini, of the divine twins, this is very understandable because the divine twins, they are very often a man and a woman, like for example the Greek Apollo and Artemis, or the Scandinavian Freya and Freyr, or like for example, I don't want to lie to you, it's definitely, I think it's like, it's probably, no, I don't want to lie, but like, you know, it's from some Asian religion, the Yama and Yami, and actually their name means the she twin and the he twin, the gods of the underworld. So very often, not only in world mythologies, not only the constellation of Gemini, of twins, would be regarded as the divine twins, but also pretty much whatever is around us. Like for example, in Egyptian mythology, yeah, the royal couple of the Egyptian world, Isis and Osiris, they are twins, and they're a man and a woman, and they're lovers. Or for example, the goddess of earth, of sky, Nut, and Geb, the god of earth, again in Egyptian mythology, they're also twins. They're a divine couple. And why I'm talking all this is that the divine couple of twins united by the same origins, they're usually regarded as the divinities who have the extreme potential of creation. Yeah, so they create the universe, they create the cycles of nature, or else they can be rulers of the underworld. Sun and the moon are, of course, two most typical twins in the cosmic mythologies. And so to speak, the whole concept as such, it kind of embraces the duality of light and dark, of birth, death, and rebirth. So those are all very deep topics when we think of it, because like again in astrology, like we know that Gemini is related to all those, like it's the air sign, it's related to communication, to mental processes, to like dialogues, conversations, and so on. But I think deeper inside it is related to the divine union of masculine and feminine. It is related to the duality of chaos and of order, of darkness and of light, you know. And so the shifts, when the changes, when the eclipses are happening in Gemini, I think that they have this overarching topic of like total changes, of big changes, which is, in my opinion, absolutely fascinating. I should have been shuffling for a while I was talking. In fairness, I wanted to start with some talking to be able to shuffle the cards while I'm doing this, but I forgot. So I'll be using the Marielle Tarot today, and because I think that that's the most mystic deck that I have. Oh, sorry, something got into my eye. Yeah. And yeah, and anyway, like, I mean, because I'm a little bit of a crazy head, I'm always looking forward to eclipses because I'm interested to see what they're going to bring. And I think that we've been in this sequence of change, like, you know, pretty much starting with the situation in which the world finds itself now, but also, so to speak, the shift is not something which is happening overnight. The shift is a very long process which is triggered and helped and assisted by a number of events. And so we are kind of finding ourselves in the middle of the change. And that's quite difficult because, like, or maybe it's actually easier for the majority of people to have kind of a gradual change instead of getting a radical change. It's just me being a fan of the Tower card, you know, kind of change, lightning comes and everything is on fire, but maybe most of people are not big fans of that at all. In any way, I find absolutely all changes positive, because I think that the worst that can happen to us as humans is stagnation. And we are now in the eclipse season. You remember 26th of May was the lunar eclipse, and 10th of June is the solar eclipse. And so what I suggest is that we do the readings as always, like 3 cards for each sign, and we're going to see in which areas you might expect the change. Something like this. Let's do it. Cool. So we start with Gemini. And Gemini, you are hosting the solar eclipse. This is your first house. You're also having the North Node of collective destiny. And another thing that you have is the North Node, the Mercury retrograde. Oh, that's beautiful. So you got the King of Discs, the King of Pentacles, 6 of Wands, and the Star. The Star is Aquarius. Beautiful card. Okay, that's interesting, because I'll start with the 6 of Wands. In this deck, this card represents the Archangel Michael. You can see here he has the flaming sword, and there is also an absolutely horrible dragon next to him. He has a very calm face. Actually, I think that his face was modeled upon like the paintings of Leonardo da Vinci, because you can see like the traits of the features. And what fascinates me, and to be honest, like, I've never thought of this card in these terms, it just crossed my mind. Usually what I say about this card is that the angel Michael represents this force which comes into the darkest shadows, into the darkest corners, in the abode of the devil, and he has a power of light to kill, to kind of like overcome the darkness. But today what actually struck me is that look how self-controlled and kind of self-centered and preserved his figure is. So although this snake, this serpent, is almost like, you know, is almost embracing him, so to speak, or kind of surrounding his body, you know, he doesn't lose his nerve. So, and I suppose that, to be honest, can be universal advice for the times of the change, just to be so grounded as to be sure that the inner light inside of you will not give way to the darkness. Yeah, because the eclipses, they are also the time when basically darkness overcomes light. Yeah, especially solar eclipse, because solar is our main giver of light. So the light is conquered by darkness for a while. And so this card, and it's happening in your first house, it's happening in your sign, and here we are kind of getting the reminder of the opposite, is that even in the complete darkness, with the dark shadowed wings, with the figure of the devil here, you should still remember that there is a source of light within you. And keep your face, yeah, keep your face, and stay calm and stay grounded and stay centered, in case you can feel some turbulences around you. And another advice for grounding is also the King of Pentacles. King of Pentacles in this deck, he is the Pan, I suppose it's called in English, yeah. So this guy from the retinue of Dionysius, the god, again, of the cycles of nature, of the death and rebirth. And he's half man and half goat. He has the horns, and he can be, by the way, Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn. So it's probably, like, you know, someone during that period important for you, like, you know, you can try to seek some help from. But I'm always taking even court cards more as abstract concepts rather than people. And King of Pentacles, he's this kind of grounded element, like, you know, like when there is too much air and your ruler Mercury is retrograding, and there is the solar eclipse, which is like a time of when chaos wins for a moment, you know. Then the grounding power of the King of Pentacles, it is this, again, the King of Pentacles, he's the most mundane, he's very down to earth, and he's very much the king of the material world, yeah. So he's all in the material plane. He is, like, you know, he's not the most spiritual of the kings, and maybe that's the kind of lesson to take as well, you know. And your last card is the Star. The Star is Aquarius. The Star is divine love, unconditional love, hope, alignment, faith. Have faith. That's pretty much, I would say, the outcome of the reading. So when everything is on fire around you and there is a ring of fire around the sun, you ground yourself and you remember that you are the center. You have the source of light which can conquer darkness to counteract what's happening during the eclipse, and the star is there to guide you. And I think that all of them, they more or less talk about this inner source of light, that we sometimes forget that we actually have it, that we all have this sort of light crystal, you know, within us, that the potential we all have, the potential for good, is always bigger than the potential for evil or the ability of darkness to overshadow light, like, you know, because if light is stronger, like, is physically stronger than darkness, you know, and light always finds its way to be perceived and to get through the darkness. And so ground yourself, Gemini, and ground yourself and let the light work transform you in the way. It's beautiful that you got the star card, though. The star card is like the best card you can get in tarot. Gemini. Okay, next one is Cancer. Cancer, for you it's your 12th house, the karmic house, the house of karmic releases and of yeah, and of debt and of everything you need to let go. And you have the North Node there. So North Node, it's kind of the guiding star on its own. Wow, you got a ton of major arcana, Cancer. You got the Hanged Man, the Emperor, and the Page of Swords. Page of Swords is actually Gemini, so it makes sense. During this eclipse, like, I mean, for you, Cancer, I think there is no double meaning of it. Eclipse, it is, again, it is when something is eclipsed, when something is over, when, like, you know, when the darkness covers the source of light. So it is definitely the need to sacrifice something. Think of what this can be. Like the Hanged Man is the primary card of the sacrifice. It can be self-sacrifice, it can be sacrifice of one of the parts of your personality in order to allow shift to happen. Like, you know, like if you used to be this and this, if you used to define yourself through certain meanings, like, you know, I'm this and this, just remember that the sentence I am is impossible to end. That's the only sentence which can never be pronounced, can never be ended. That's by default an open sentence, because you can't define yourself. Not a single human being, in fact, can be defined. But we tend to define. We are like, yes, I'm this, that's my name, I'm Russian, like, you know, or I'm Irish, I'm a teacher, or like, you know, I'm a lawyer, I am this and this, I'm a mother of 4, like, you know, we tend to divide ourselves. But there is no way to define now. And so when you just consider your personality as this kaleidoscope of various little particles of glass which change, which like a turned and over change, it will be easier to understand, not to cling to something. And that's what might be meant, like, you know, just everything you thought, like some part of your personality you thought defines you, that's the self-sacrifice which might be needed. Else you might sacrifice some other part. Like, in any way, when the eclipses are happening in the 12th house, it's always a good time to think of what you need to let go, of what you need to release, and to start moving, because the position of the Hanged Man is less than fortunate. You're just stuck, you're so stagnant, you're not here, not there. So you release you sacrifice in order to be able to move forward. But then your next card is an Emperor, and the Emperor is a card of the total control, of defining your kingdom, of deciding what your territory is, what you claim for yourself. And I think they go hand in hand. So you release something that no longer is needed for you, something that no longer you feel needs to be in your personality, and at the same time you solidify your territory, what needs to be there. And the Emperor himself, as you know, his number is 4, and 4, it is this overarching stability. It is our mundane world, the 4 corners of the earth, the 4 corners of the room, of the house. And he is this element who holds everything in control of his power. And together with those 2 processes, like, you know, I keep telling it responsibility. Maybe I'm obsessing over this word, but I think that that's what we are called to. I think over the past like few years, 2 years, that's what has been our main idea, like, you know, our main concern, to get the responsibility over our lives. And then the next card is Page of Swords. Page of Swords can be Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. Well, the eclipse is happening in Gemini, so that's why it came. But again, this card, the Page of Swords, is the card of liberation. You can see that the woman, she's totally naked. She has a very beautiful dragon tattoo. Dragon is fierce, dragon is empowering, and so she is raising up in the sky. You know, it is absolutely surreal picture. We can't even see her face again, because she cannot be defined by how she looks or by who she are. She's just herself. Yeah, she's this pure spirit flying high. And in this regard, Page of Swords is the new beginnings in your mental state, in how you feel yourself, in thoughts and communications, in everything related to the air sign, you know, to air element, not the sign, to air element. And oops, I do this, yeah, because I'm not using reverse cards, so I'm gonna put this like this. And that's very beautiful. I think that, Cancer, your reading is very liberating and empowering, to be honest. That's beautiful. Okay, next one is Leo. Leo, yeah. Okay, Leo, how have you been? How are things? So the eclipse is happening in your 11th house, of friends and networks, of social connections, I suppose. It's nice to have Gemini, I think, is your 11th house, because, you know, Gemini, they're all about like dialogues and social media and internet and so on. So I suppose all Leos that I know, they have lots of friends and they're very active on the internet. Oh, sorry, I lost my cards. So maybe that's the outcome of having the 11th house in Gemini. Now, what does the eclipse has to bring you? Nice. Well, Leo, you got the Fool. Bingo. Congratulations. Queen of Wands, that's you. And Three of Wands. You got lots of fire. I think that the idea of the solar eclipse... Okay, Leo, look. Sun is your ruling planet, and Sun is going to be eclipsed. Sun is the only planet, I suppose, which can be eclipsed, at least visibly to us. I'm not sure. No clue about astronomy, but I think that's the case. In any way, that's what we are celebrating. So your planet is eclipsed, your ruler is eclipsed, you are eclipsed. And for you, it can mean a bang, 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 like, you know, a big change. That's why you're getting the Fool. The Fool is the card number 0. The Fool is just the everything kind of like is annihilated, and so that you can start building the fresh, from the fresh start, from the very beginning. I think this is totally fascinating. You're invited to be reborn, Leo. That's all I can say. Basically, you are the sun, so you're eclipsed, and I just only can wish that all your fears and all your tribulations are eclipsed during this eclipse, so that you can get this breath of fresh air. If you actually look at this card, look how airy it is. Look that it has two snakes, two intertwined snakes, which represent the caduceus, the staff of god Hermes, otherwise Mercury. Mercury is currently retrograde. I think it's gonna stop being retrograde in a few days after the eclipse, if I'm not mistaken. But in any way, you're invited to get this breath of fresh air. Yes, it can be stressful, the feeling of being kind of, so the sun is symbolically trapped by the moon. The moon gives it, like, you know, a big shadow, and the sun is not used to it. The sun is used to shine and to be bright and to be visible, so the sun might not like it. But in any case, that's what's going to happen. And that would be maybe your moment of big realization of something, of changing your way, of accepting this transformation and allowing it to carry you wherever you need to go. But whenever you need to go, the two other cards, they're actually just basically you. Queen of Wands, she's Leo, Sag, or Aries. She's the fire queen. She is fierce, she's fertile, she's sassy, she's very brave, she's strong-head. And just remember who you are, like, you know, remember that you naturally have all those capacities, and you don't need to be afraid of absolutely nothing. And then Three of Wands. Three of Wands is this Kundalini awakening. So the shift is happening. You're brought to point number 0. You're feeling in more alignment with yourself because the eclipse might shake you. And then Three of Wands, the birth of new life, the Kundalini awakening, the eye opening, like, you know, your eyes are gonna open. Maybe you'll get some revelation. Maybe you'll get some like idea during this eclipse that how to change your life, how to proceed in your life. This card is full of blood. It's very vital. It's just pulping with life, with fire. And 3, it is like it represents the first stages of the creative process, the first fruit, the first moments of the seed shooting the first green leaf out of the dark land, soil, ground. I don't know how to call this, but you got me. And I don't know. I think that for you it might be really very shocking, but at the same time, I think that it would have so much positive quality, like, you know, so to speak, so much positive outcome for you, Leo. I think that this might be just what doctor prescribed to you. Next one is Virgo. Virgo, for you, it is your 10th house. Gemini is your 10th house of career. Virgos, as you know, I'm Virgo rising. I hope we will all get some amazing surprises with our career. I don't know, that we would all just rock it. Nice. So the eclipse in our career house for workaholic Virgos. Let's see what's in store for us. Three major arcana. Now I hope you can hear, like, you know, from the oratory of Handel. It's used in all movies, this Alleluia, like the angelic Alleluia, so something like that. So the Chariot, we got three major arcana, the Lovers and Temperance. What absolutely kills me, I don't know even how I pulled up such cards, is that the Lovers is Gemini card. In tarot, astrological significance of the Lovers is Gemini, and Temperance astrological significance is Sag. And so this is our Sag Gemini eclipse excess, you know. So it kind of came in the readings, maybe because it's a career house. It's an important house, to be honest. I think the 10th house is kind of considered very important in astrology. I'm not sure though, but that's kind of what I remember from certain knowledge. The Chariot, so the vehicles, the Chariot starts rolling. I think that for so long Virgos were kind of affected, like, you know, not directly, but like, you know, kind of by proxy, sort of, so to speak, because Virgos didn't have like many transits for so long, but nonetheless Virgos like are kind of somehow always reflecting what's going on for the others. So the Chariot is the Cancer card. It is the card, well, first of all, it is the card of movement, of basically even physical movement. It can represent travels, maybe not long distance travels, but nonetheless travels. It can represent the actually speeding up upon the path of your life, so that like that like if you feel that you're stuck at the moment, if you feel that there was no motion recently, the motion is about to pick up, and so you just need to fasten your belt, and the car has, I don't know, you don't need to drive it, because the Cancer is the card. Not only does it represent a vehicle, a car, a chariot, like, you know, which would bring you from point A to point B, but because it is Cancer, it has this very deep spiritual, emotional dimension that, because basically your spirit guides guiding you. I like the Chariot cards in this deck because it is a kind of lady shaman, like, you know. And I don't know what's that. I suppose this is the fur, kind of her fur hoodie, but it looks like a burst of the supernova, and she has a pink rose in her heart, which is like very, very gnostic, like, you know, kind of symbol of this Rosa Mundi, you know, the rose of the world in your heart. And of course, for shaman, the wolf pack, those are her spirit guides, and they would bring her, they would allow her to travel across the shamanic tree of the world, you know, to go to the underworld, to go to the upper world, and they would bring her whenever she needs to go. So it is about movement, but it is about moving, you know, in alignment with something bigger, having full trust in where your destiny is bringing you, after all. And then the Lovers card. So yeah, the Lovers is Gemini. The Lovers is if it is related to career, so maybe that's something that's going to pick up in a more harmonizing way, that other people like Gemini is the only sign which is not bored, you know, because there are two people in the sign. So it is about conversing, it is about connecting with others, maybe building new relationship which would boost your career in any way. But in any way, it is, abstractly speaking, unrelated to the Gemini sign. The Lover's card is not about love with someone, like a man or woman love, or like physical love. Yeah, it is the love of the cosmic love. Yeah, it is the harmony, it is the union, it is the total harmony in different spheres of your life. So there is this harmonizing energy coming on your way. But I think the only thing is just to let the pace pick up as it will. Do not rush things, because Temperance is the card of patience, of slow pace, of, like, you know, being still careful. Yeah, like, you know, look around where the Chariot is bringing you, noticing things, registering things. So this is very much the Temperance card. Yeah, so what they were trying to show here is that the tiger represents the fire element, but the water element is very soothing, like, you know, there's this alchemical process. The Temperance card is also about transformation, because it's the card of alchemy, it's the card of creating new substances by putting different things into the same vessel, you know. It is kind of cooking your own destiny from different flavors and so on. So things, this is just, I want to show you again. So you got the Chariot, and you got the Lovers and Temperance, the Gemini and Sag card. I think another reason why it is so is that, from kind of what I'm getting, is that because Sag, because what are those? Please, if I'm not very good like at it. I think that those are mutable signs, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I know that, like, Capricorn, Aries, they're cardinal. Yeah, and by default, like, you know, when the nodes are in mutable signs, the fellow signs are affected more. And so Virgo is getting kind of hit by proxy, by the nodes conversing and transforming the reality in Sag and in Gemini. Cool. Next one is Libra. Libra. So for you, it is your ninth house. Ninth house of learning, high learning, spiritual quest, going back to school, picking up new knowledge, finding your guru, you know, finding your teacher, and expanding your horizons, generally speaking. Yeah. Now Libra, you're also air sign, so the eclipse is happening in your fellow air sign, which is very nice. You got lots of wands. So you got 7 of wands, you got 5 of wands, you got Knight of Pentacles. In all fairness, the meanings of 7 of wands and of 5 of wands, they're very similar in traditional tarot. They both, to be honest, they both represent verbal conflicts, and that's quite probable, Libra, what's going to happen, because, like, you are affected again by proxy, because it is your fellow earth sign, but air sign. But another thing is that Mercury is retrograde, and the eclipse, if I'm not mistaken, is square Neptune. So there is some confusion happening. And the confusion is related to, of course, like all the Gemini topics, like, you know, air topics, like mental state, other people, information, communication, uh, misunderstandings or understandings between people. In this deck, this card is a little bit different because Seven of Wands, what they are trying to kind of shift the focus a little bit from the conflicts and dialogues and maybe, like, you know, challenging dialogues, challenging conversations with other people, to the challenging conversations within. The beast, the beast here represents the kind of this beast which you might meet when you will start traveling inside of your soul. This is kind of yourself, this is your other part, this is your more challenging, more wild, more kind of animal part, which has less patience, which is more arrogant, less easy to deal with, which needs to be tamed and harnessed, and you will look into its green eyes. And so your transformation would start with a deep conversation with yourself. And I don't know, I think that Sun, in general, Sun also represents ego. Sun is us. So, and Libra, they tend to be like, you know, peacemakers. Libra, they are our collective seventh house. So it is all about me and the others and how to build, like, you know, good diplomatic relationships. But for this moon, when the ego is eclipsed, it is kind of more about you. It is the ego which is challenged. So it is more like, what's in it for me? So you start with this dialogue and you try to untangle all those knots within you. And you do it by basically persistent accomplishment. So for you, the cards that came, they're very much about hard work. And that's what Knight of Pentacles is about. So it is about like hard work, persistence, resilience, and accomplishment. Like here, through the complete darkness, there is this fiery lion, and he's just rushing. He's rushing like a lightning, you know, like a beacon of fire. And it just shows this strength, the strength of intention, to solve whatever problems are in you. And the Knight of Pentacles is here to provide you with the necessary grounding, you know. Actually, the Knight of Pentacles, according to the legend of this deck, it is the young Buddha under the Bodhi tree, on which he conquered, he became triumphant over this tiger, which represents, again, which is actually mirrored by this card, because it's the same idea. This tiger represents the kind of lower part of your personality. Like, for example, Prince Siddhartha's desire to be prince, to live with his beautiful wife and children, to be rich, but he neglected all this. So he conquered, I don't know, is there something like vinkered? I don't know. There is a Latin verb like this, like vinke, but I'm not sure if it exists in English. But I like this verb. So he overcame, I suppose, would be the adequate translation. So he overcame this more arrogant, more like princely, more down to earth part of his personality, like, you know, just looking for easy things, not for easy, but looking for like those immediate gratification things, like richness, beautiful people around you, like, you know, sexual relationship, like, you know, and so on. But he's sitting on top of this animal, and there is the blessing of the Bodhi tree under which he got awakened, you know. So it is in a way battle with your demons, you know, if you wish. It is about building the conversations with you. It kind of turns from the cards that this is going to be your priority, Libra. And because it is in the 9th house of, like, you know, of all those very noble abstract ideas like higher learning, philosophy, the passage of knowledge, and so on. It is also about mastery of yourself, you know, because the 9th house is the house of the quest for the Holy Grail, and you can't find the Grail without mastering yourself first. So this is pretty much what it is. The mastering yourself. Okay, doke. Next one is Scorpio. Scorpio, for you, Gemini is your 8th house. That's your house of the occult, of the transformation, of death and rebirth, of the hidden knowledge. Maybe because, I don't know, because Gemini is all about information, maybe you will get some piece of the information, some piece of the hidden secret knowledge. Maybe that would be your lot for it. Okay. Beautiful. You got Knight of Pentacles, the Empress, Venus, and 3 of Swords. I think that the eclipse is going to be strong for you as well, because it's happening in the house which correlates to your sign, because Scorpio is our collective 8th house, and the eclipse is happening in your relative 8th house, which is Gemini. And the eclipse, because I think you're very resonating to those topics, yeah. So as I was briefly explaining at the beginning, the eclipse is this, especially in the Gemini, it resurfaces all those topics of light and darkness. And the eclipse is this very short moment of time when the light is conquered by darkness, is overshadowed by chaos. And those concepts, they're very Scorpionic. Archetypically speaking, I'm not saying you're a dark person, but Scorpio as such, as a sign, it is the underworld, it is the darkness, it is the chaos, it is the venom, it is like all those things which lurk in the darkness, you know. That's why I love you, Scorpio, because I'm a very dark person. But look, that's for you to transform. So you also got the King of Pentacles, and the King of Pentacles, who got it as well? Gemini got King of Pentacles, if I'm not mistaken. King of Pentacles is very grounding. So if you feel like this dark part of you is like a tsunami upon you, if you feel frustrated, if you feel that those dark waters within you start bubbling, you need to ground yourself. Actually, like, you know, why is he eating here? Because in world mythology, eating, it is something which includes you into the world. That's why when you go to the underworld, you're not allowed to eat, because the moment you eat, you get engaged, you get involved with the environment, and you will stay there forever. That's what happened to Persephone. She ate the pomegranate when she was in the underworld, so she became queen of the underworld. And then when you are back to the surface, when you're back to our world, you need to eat something, the opposite, in order to get included into the environment of this world. So this is what it is. It is about grounding practices. It is about including yourself, trying to find the way of how to be accepted, how to deal with your own trauma in a way, because I'm afraid that those topics will re-emerge for you, Scorpio. The 3 of Swords, the broken heart, and with all those like transformations and so on, I think that either this can mean the end of the relationship. I'm definitely, those of you who are in happy relationship, I wish you all the very best. But those of you who are not in the very happy relationship, you know that I'm talking to you. And so if this eclipse brings with it the change related to the broken heart, don't resist it. Don't resist it. It just needs to happen. It needs to happen. That's your house of transformation. That's the darkness overshadowing light. So if this is happening, if some emotional loss is happening, I mean, of course, when I'm saying about breaking up relationship, that's just a very easy way, maybe because I like fantasy, but like, what else can be a heartbreak? It can be like, you know, it can be just a feeling of sudden sadness. It can be just like, I don't know, the destructive thought. It can be the loss of something else. It can be despair. It can be, yeah, the loss of hope, not finding your way, not knowing where to go. And so in this way, make sure to ground yourself. Make sure to ground yourself. Like King of Pentacles, he's Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn. What do those guys usually do? They overwork, to be honest. I don't know if that's a good advice, pardon me, but that's definitely one way of grounding. You might find different way of grounding. You might find maybe there is so much air and so much water in you and so much darkness. So think of something like connect to the earth in order to be brought back from the underworld. But then you're getting the Empress. The Empress would lead you out of this, because the Empress, she is the archetype of mother. She is the motherly love. She is this eternal embrace, total understanding, acceptance of everything. So if you have this figure, ask advice. If not, try to be your own mother figure. That's a very big, I think, deed in mastering yourself. Try to be the mother figure for your own, like, inner child, your fragile, insecure part of yourself. So the Empress, she is she's basically the source of unconditional love. She accepts you no matter what. She wipes away your tears, you know. She cares, she protects. She is the goddess. Again, she's related to earth because she's Venus. She's related to fertility, to fruit of this land, to flowers, to all those things. Like, you know, she's the Jupiter, or she's the Venus, like the goddess of nature, of the natural awakening. And which again kind of brings this dimension of grounding yourself, like, I don't know, tending plants or buying crystals and so on. But in any way, I guess that what is the advice is for you to come up with a coping mechanism which would serve you for life. The coping mechanism against the broken heart, losses, different destructive feelings, pain. And the source of it is in a way, I think the answer is very simple. Like, you know, the Scorpios, they're all about like occult, hidden, overcomplicated. But the answer is simple. The King of Pentacles, he's the king of earthly pleasures, of earthly delights. And the Empress, she's herself Venus, like, you know, beauty, art, love, Mother Nature. So that's very beautiful, I think. Next one is Sagittarius. So the axis of eclipses, Sagittarius Gemini, is activated. It's happening in your 7th house. In your 7th house of the others. How, Sag, let me know, how did the eclipse, the lunar eclipse in your 1st house go on the 26th of May? And lots of cards are getting major arcana, lots of signs got major arcana, because it's a big event, like, you know. So you got 4 of Pentacles, you also got the Chariot, and you got the Hierophant. So the Chariot is Cancer and the Hierophant is Taurus. So look, we are now in the eclipse season along the axis of the 2 signs hosting the lunar node. So it is Sag, yourself, and the Gemini. And so you are having the South node, and I suppose it is probably easier for Gemini, who has the North node, because North node, it is kind of a real node, a true node, and South node, it is more like the ominous node, where you need to let go of something, you know, where you need to, it is your this stupid tale of the dragon, you know, which just needs to be, how to say, to be discarded. So 4 of Pentacles, that's Sun in Capricorn, that's in traditional decks, that's the meaning of it is kind of like protecting protecting the scarce meanings that you have. But in this deck, I think it has beautiful meaning. So there is a guiding star here, if you can see it. And there are mountains, and Capricorn feels very comfortable in the mountains. You know, the ibex, the mountain goat, he feels very good. So he, you've been just challenged by the moon eclipse, and now there is a solar eclipse in your 7th house, and that's just a total, like, you know, total change of everything and transformation. But the thing is that you just need to, again, to come up with a solution of how to deal with it, because there are all those mountains, but in fact, because that's the Capricorn card, ibex knows how to survive in those circumstances. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that all those changes, they will change your environment, they will put you in the situations in which you don't know how to survive, in the situation which is like a totally new environment for you. But the thing is that you actually know how to deal with it, because this is, again, you were born with it. You were born with it, like those goats were born with the ability to climb those mountains. And then the Chariot is Cancer. Things will start picking up. Virgo also got the Chariot. The Chariot is the card of, technically, even of normal vehicle, yeah, so it can mean buying a new car or something, but it also means being brought somewhere, not even driving, but being brought somewhere by your faith, and basically by destiny. So this is a card of movement, which implies the notion of passivity, because it's not exactly, it's not a car, it's a chariot, and the person who is in the chariot is not driving the chariot, the charioteer is driving the chariot. So you are in the chariot, and the horses, or here the pack of wolves who are driving this lady shaman or the charioteer, they're driving you somewhere. And because it is the chariot, it is the card of Cancer, and Cancer has a shell. That's the card of being brought somewhere, moving somewhere with the divine protection, as if you have a shield over your head. Nothing bad can happen to you. It is a very comforting card, because it means achievement, it means progress. It can mean relocation, not far away, maybe like not the distant relocation, but it can also mean speed picking up, like, you know, that you start moving, something starts shifting, you're brought towards something new. It can be new relationship, it can be new job, it can be new house, like, you know, maybe you'll find, I don't know, a new house in the neighborhood village or neighborhood town, you know, and you would relocate. But it will all be in alignment with where you're supposed to go, so just trust and enjoy. And then the Hierophant, although the Hierophant is Taurus, I think that the Hierophant, as the meaning of this card in tarot, is so resonating with the Sagittarius, to be honest, because this card is all about so it's all about like philosophy, it's all about considerations of your life, kind of from the higher point, from the higher position. And the Hierophant, like, you know, he's the Pope as well. He has the keys, yeah, the keys, they're the symbol of the Pope, they're the keys from the gates of heaven, which were given to Peter, the first Roman Pope. And he holds also something which resembles the Tower of Babel, you know, or some building, you know. And so he holds it next to his heart, reminding us that our body is a temple, that our heart is the temple of God, and so we need to find a key to open it. And we open it, of course, through spiritual practices, through religious practices, through higher learning, through seeking advice, through, like, you know, consulting other people. And I think that this is maybe where the meaning of the 7th house is coming for you, Sagittarius, because this is this movement towards something bigger. You might, I don't know, you might go to the university again, you may enroll in certain course, you might try to find a teacher for yourself if you want to learn something. But in any way, you see, you're brought into those new circumstances, but it's all resolved through those two cards, because you're moving effortlessly, you're being moved to where you're supposed to be, and the Hierophant is awaiting you there. Okay, so we've done half. Next one is Capricorn. Capricorn, for you, the eclipse is happening in the 6th house. In the 6th house of Virgo, yes, of routine, of everyday life, of your everyday career, of health routine, yeah, of like your diet and so on. So Capricorn, cool. Wow. Capricorn, you got the Fool. Leo also got the Fool. That's interesting. Ace of Cups, also new beginnings with emotions, and 7 of Discs, responsibility for your life. That's what I keep saying. So the Fool is card number 0. The Fool means total annihilation of what it used to be, of what you considered yourself to be. To be honest, Capricorn, if you were waiting for the sign from the universe that you're no longer happy with your everyday life, with your routine, with your certain habits, that's a sign you were waiting for. The solar eclipse is going to eclipse whatever you're used to completely and replace it with something new and amazing. The Fool is this Fool, he is full of light, he's full of the potential, he's full of the signs of rebirth, like those butterflies, like all those shafts of air around him. He wears a mask because the face, the personality he used to have is no longer with him. It was all totally burnt and annihilated and eclipsed, and now it is time to come up with a new plan, with the new way of doing things. That's a very important message that we are talking about this eclipse. Eclipses bringing big transformations. Eclipses destroy the order. The sunlight represents the order. Then the moment of chaos, and the order is destroyed, and then you need to recombine the order, and that's what it is. You're also getting the Ace of Cups, yeah. Ace is all about new beginnings, and Cups is about water area, water element. So it is all related to emotions, to feelings and so on. If I don't know when it just crossed my mind, so I'm going to tell this. I mean, maybe it's also related because it's in your 6th house of health to the balance of water in your body, you know, so that's something that's going to be renewed, like, you know, and maybe purified as well. Like, you know, I think that Ace of Cups in terms of health issues is a very good card, that if you're having some, maybe that's a very good time to resolve those issues, because water as such, it means baptism, and baptism means rebirth and purification and total like, you know, transformation of your physical body as well as of your personality. And then seven of Pentacles is a very interesting card. I think it's a very intense card, and in this deck it means accepting that you are the creator of your own life. So and I think it very much fits the 6th house, because all Virgos are very responsible, you know. Virgos, they act, they don't look for miracles, you know, and that's kind of the 6th house imperative. So let's just discuss what's happening here. You see that there are like 2 mountains. There is actually a solar eclipse here. That's very funny, isn't it? There is a solar eclipse, which means that there is this crucial point when the world stops being what you used to know it. And then there are sigils of the planets, and then there is fire, and then there is water, and then there is mountains symbolize the earth, and then there is sky, which symbolizes the air. So there are 4 elements. There are sigils of the planets. And you probably guessed already, yes, it is the moment of creation, when all the elements are brought together and they are recombined, they're recomposed, they create something new. What is your role on this card? Your role is that of God, the creator, of the demiurge, of the person who has potential, who has creative power, who is the agent of creative transformation, who can bring the change and the new things into this world. So just accept it, like game's over. There is no adult in this world that would come and solve all our problems, and the one who would, like, you know, build for you the life that you want. The only adult is fucking you, like, you know. So that's you, and you take this flag, you take this banner with pride, and you carry it, and you start playing a more active role in your life. Sixth house, in its lower manifestations, it's also the house of victimhood and of feeling like a victim, basically feeling victimized, and that's just a big no. This card is the opposite of it. This card is just like your motto is like, I'm the owner of my life, and I'm the builder of my life, and I'm the creator of my life, and I'm gonna create the life that I want for myself. And that's your Fool here, and that's your Ace of Cups here. So it is this renovation, lots of new beginnings, Capricorn. That's beautiful, very beautiful cards. Next one is Aquarius, yeah, and for you, Aquarius, fifth house, yeah, Gemini is your fifth house, and your fellow sign, air sign, your fellow air sign. Fifth house, as you know, is the house of romance, the house of children, and also the house of your kind of self-expression, your creativity, your artsy, craftsy way of expressing yourself. Yeah. So Aquarius, you got Seven of Cups, you got Knight of Cups, and you got Nine of Wands. So you start with disappointing, but you're getting to the fierceness of the moment through love, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, you might feel a bit empty at the moment. Seven of Cups, you know, in traditional decks, you know, it is this card in which there is a person, and in front of him is 7 cups, and 7 cups represent 7 temptations, like, you know, like the temptations of Saint Anthony, something along those lines. So many things are tempting you, so many things are calling upon you. You might feel lost, you might feel disappointed and frustrated, you just don't know where to go, you don't know what to pick up, you don't know which road to take. The vibe we're getting from this card, it is the dark night, there is the full moon, and there is this lonely wolf. Yeah, so it is very archetypical. I'm sure we all resonate to the image of the lonely wolf. Wolf is a pack animal, he is a social animal, he needs to live with his peers. So when it's a lonely wolf, it's actually this frustration and sadness which surrounds him. And you've been through a lot, and you are still through a lot, and you have Saturn in your house, and Saturn is doing all this hard work with you. But I feel that especially the fifth house, yeah, the eclipse in the fifth house, the change in the fifth house, it is manifested for you by the Knight of Cups. Yeah, so the Knight of Cups, it is unconditional love, it is the purity of heart, it is the self-sacrifice, it is the ability to grow a lotus of awakening, the lotus of the higher perception, of the higher acceptance of reality out of blood, which you are bleeding, you know, which you are bleeding when you are frustrated, and when you're sad. The Knight of Cups, it is the one knight who found the Holy Grail. Yeah, so it is like the Parsifal, or like, depending on other tradition, some other people, but nonetheless, this is the one who is pure in heart and pure in spirit, and that's the one who gets the treasure, you know. And I think that the fifth house for me is very much associated with the crown chakra, with the higher chakra, with our, like, you know, channel to the divine, with our abilities to create as gods, to express ourselves. So Knight of Cups, like, you know, the eclipses, it kind of, like, you know, restarts, it resets everything. And I think that this is basically like your card to follow this total reset of your internal life, of your ability to love, of your ability to create, of your ability to express yourself. And then when this is done, when this is actually purified, and when this darkness of the eclipse, the darkness which overcomes light, when light shines back, after that you know that that was the moment, that the moments of darkness, they're the ones that allow us to go through things. They're the ones that teach us. They're the ones that allow us to find our core, our core meaning, and to keep going. And your last card, Nine of Wands, is extremely fierce. You can see Nine of Wands is a very, in this deck, in this deck, usually the Nine of Wands is the wounded warrior. And I think we might interpret it in this classical way as well, because of this path. What did I do already to the Seven of Cups? Here, yeah. I already put it back. So after you go through this road from total frustration to the moment of kind of realization and finding the source of faith, hope, and unconditional love within you, and then you are, of course, the wounded warrior. And the kind of the shadow of this card is this bitterness that can come with it. This bitterness, this like, okay, I've been through so much, I'm better than them. I know, like, you know, I know, because I was through a lot, like, you know, I've been through it all, I've seen it all. But the trick with it is to balance yourself, like, you know, to allow your wounds to heal, to give yourself time wounds to heal. And this card in this deck, it's actually very magical, and it is very fiery and very fierce. So like you allow this, and it is very creative. This card is very artsy, because like if you're a creative person, if you have been creating, you know that that's exactly how you feel when you create. You feel as if like there is a dragon or a tiger within you who is like doing his roar, just like hear me roar, because that's what I am here to bring into this world. And there is this lady, she was like a priestess, you know, in the laurel wreath. She has like some fire, she's holding a fire in her palm. So again, the symbol of creation, of expressing yourself. So I feel like, because Aquarius, it is your 5th house, I feel like this disappearance of light there for a moment, and this total darkness and the dark night of the soul, it will allow you to find even brighter source of light, very fierce and very prominent, and to kind of show who you are to the world, and to find your channel, your outlet to channel what you have to give, you know. Yeah, suppose this is it. Next one is Pisces. Everything fell. So Pisces, for you, this is your 4th house. Gemini is your 4th house, I think. Yeah, correct. Yeah, so that's your 4th house of Cancer. Yes, it's a Cancerian house. So the house of home, the house of your household, of your family, of your siblings, of people you live with. Yeah, cool. No, I can't believe, how is this possible? You also got the Fool. Leo got the Fool, Capricorn got the Fool, and Pisces got the Fool. No, transformation for galore. Transformation galore. That's a very Irish thing to say. So the Fool, you got the 3 of Wands, and you got the Hanged Man. Okay, Pisces, big changes ahead. The full energy came to bless you with the total energy of annihilation, reinvention, transformation, and everything changed. So what you used to know about yourself and about your place, especially like about your place in the world, is no longer there. It will all be eclipsed and replaced by something new. Fool is major arcana number 0, so the Fool is a promise of the new life. It's a promise of rebirth, hence the butterflies. Butterflies in Greek, the word for butterflies, psyche, yeah, so psyche, that's the word. So the soul is a butterfly, and that's why, like, you know, and look how many there are, and there are those shafts of wind, and this person who is totally naked and totally fragile and wearing a mask, because his face is no longer his, like, you know, he doesn't have a face yet. The mask it represents someone who we don't know who it is, like he has no personality, and that's you, Pisces. For you, it is the time to embrace the new you. Because it is like the Fool usually means like really new beginning and sudden change. Maybe it would mean, I don't know, relocation for you, finding a new house, or changing the people who live in your house, or probably even the I don't know if it can be buying a new house. It can definitely be kind of changing the circumstances in which you live. I suppose it can mean refurbishment, but also probably how you change, how you can change your world, your house, your environment to suit you better. Because you're changing, and our households, that's what represents us, that's what brings us, like, you know, that's what needs to be in alignment with us, because we spend, especially now, so much time locked inside. And then some creativity comes for you, Pisces. 3 of Wands, Kundalini snake, uncoiling, awakening for you. The I don't know, when I first got this deck, I was very much afraid of this card, because I think that it is kind of, I was a little bit afraid of the red color in it, but now I came to love it, because there is this awakening eye. The eye is opening. We can imagine that this is like the eye of some, that we don't see the rest of the face, that maybe it is some red dragon or something, but it is red, is the color of blood. That's the most important color for us, because it's the color of life, it's the color of fertility, of life which continues, like, you know, and that's very important notion for us as humans, in a human shape, of course. And so 3 of Wands, in general, in Tarot 3, it is the first stage on which you can see visible result. Yeah, so Ace is the new beginning, 2 is the conception, and 3, it is, as I say, the first leaf which the seed shoots on the light, like, you know, from the darkness of the soil. You will start feeling something bubbling within you. If there was a need, if you felt that it was like a stagnation and you were lacking creative plans and creative ideas, those would come. But then you also got the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is a very slow card. It can mean, basically, it can mean delay, it can mean procrastination, but it can also mean self-sacrifice or changing the way you look at things. And with the Fool and the 3 of Wands, I don't see how the delay meaning would fit into this card. What I think, it is more related to the awakening as well, because this card, it has a very deep kind of divine meaning as well, because it is about the cases when gods are killed, like, you know, when gods are sacrificed, like Osiris, like Scandinavian Odin, when gods are like sacrificed as the divine holy sacrifice, you know, even Jesus, yeah, Jesus is sacrificial lamb, of course. And then what comes out of this is rebirth and awakening in a completely new status. Because when you're reborn, you cannot be reborn the same. Like, you know, when you go through this experience of being sacrificed, you can no longer be the same. And that's when it comes, the Fool again. So, and then the first steps of the new life. So, I think Pisces for you is going to be very transformative. Also, sorry, like, my cards keep falling today. Also, because in Pisces there is Neptune now, yeah, so there is Neptune, and the solar eclipse is squaring this Neptune. Square is a malefic, yeah, aspect and transit, but nonetheless, that's why I think Pisces got a big deal of it, because you go through this challenge, you go through this sacrifice, but then you reinvent yourself, you rediscover yourself, and your creative energy is brought back to you. Next one is Aries. Aries, for you, the eclipse happening in your third house, that house of communication and information and truth and speaking and conversing and building your relationship with the others. You got Page of Cups, Four of Pentacles, and Five of Swords. Page of Cups means new beginnings, and Cups, it is in the realm of emotions or feelings, which is kind of directly related to the others, like, you know, and how we see the others and what other people bring into our life. But the other two cards, they're challenging in their nature. Four of Discs, Four of Pentacles, it means kind of greediness sometimes, and scarcity of needs, the desire to kind of sit upon what is yours and protect it, instigated by the fear ultimately, yeah, because when we are afraid, like, you know, when we are afraid, that's when we sorry, my mind got just blank. So when we are afraid, that's kind of like what doesn't allow us to part with what we have. And then Five of Swords means Five of Swords is very Gemini card. It can mean verbal conflicts, challenges, but it also has a remedy how to deal with it. So so far what I'm noticing is that we are coming towards the end of our reading, and so many signs already got either the Fool or Pages or Aces, and those are all kind of new beginnings. Page of Cups is of course a new beginning card as well, because Pages are kids, Pages are the first court cards. They represent this renovation, this very youthful energy, youthful spirit, like, you know, childlike atmosphere around us. And Page of Cups, I think, is very much fitting for the Gemini eclipse, because Page of Cups is adventurous. Page of Cups is very curious. Page of Cups, you see, she has turned her tattooed back to us, and she's sailing somewhere, like, you know, she's ready to go somewhere over the sea, to expand her horizons, to travel far and wide. So the eclipse might give you the chance to actually reconsider all the areas related to Gemini in your life, as to, like, you know, how you communicate, how you learn, how you're with words, with words in general, like, you know, if you're a good listener, if you're a good talker, how can you improve upon those areas. And then, because the solar eclipse, it's always the time when darkness overcomes light, so it's time of confusion, of probably kind of losing it, a little bit losing it, you know. So you might get the feeling of fear also, because because when dark, like symbolically what's happening is that the sun is our main source of light, and the sun also represents ego. It is eclipsed, it is overshadowed by darkness, and so we find ourselves in a complete darkness and we cannot see clearly. And your two other cards, they are a little bit about not seeing clearly, but there is a remedy in them. So four of Pentacles, yeah. It is sitting on what you have, be it is the primary meaning is about the material, but it can be any habit. Being stuck, although you don't think that that's fitting, you don't think that that's what makes you happy, but you're clinging to your work, to your home place, to your circle, you know, to your, like, you know, income source and so on, because that's what you know, because that's what gives you guarantee. And this card, it invites you upon the adventure. Think of the areas of your life where you are happy with less than enough, and just discard it and let it go and accept the adventure on this new path, because there is a guiding star here. There is a guiding star, there is a path. You might be not used to this environment, not used to those mountains, but nonetheless, it is better to start this adventure, because this would bring you to the higher good. And the same with Five of Swords, with communication. The woman on this card, she's this Greek goddess Athena. Athena was the goddess of intellect, of mental work, like, you know, of wisdom, and her symbol was the owl. Yeah, and this woman, she's like, you know, she's hugged by this flock of owls, and she also holds a baby, you know. So it is kind of a visual symbol of being very strongly in your head and being challenged by ideas, by thoughts, by, like, you know, verbal, like, you know, verbal challenges, which is the Gemini energy, which is very much tormented by this, and kind of not even tormented, how to say, it's like water, yeah, troubled water, troubled by the solar eclipse. But because it's your third house of communication, of building, like, you know, those bridges with other people, it is by taking care of the others, by connecting, you know, you see that she's holding someone's hand, by connecting with someone who are different from us, that we expand our horizons and we become less afraid, so to speak, you know, kind of the fear implied by this. So you're invited upon the new adventure by your first card, by just sail there into the open ocean, expand your horizons, don't be afraid of anything. And I suppose you should take this invitation. Last but not least, Taurus. Taurus, for you, that's your second house of self-value, of money, of abundance. That's your house, because Taurus is our collective. It's our collective second house. So, Taurus, what's in store for you for the eclipse? Okay, so you got King of Pentacles. Very many, lots of people got today King of Pentacles. 10 of Cups and the Empress. The Empress, it's Venus. The Empress is basically kind of you know. I'm now trying to look back and understand why so many signs got the King of Pentacles. Because I think that the frustration brought by the eclipse and the fear of shift and this energy of transformation, it requires from us lots of strength and lots of grounding. Frankly, I would probably do an overview from there at the end when we are done with Taurus, but the idea is that King of Pentacles, he can be Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn. And if you see here, he's like, you know, he's Pan. He's this god from the who's accompanying god Dionysius, god of wine, death and rebirth, and music and arts. He is this, like, you know, he's this spirit of nature, so to speak. Yeah, so he's the spirit of music, because there is a pan flute, you know, the musical instrument. And he's the spirit of nature, he's the spirit of fertility, he's the spirit of, like, you know, richness of this world. You see that he has a red apple which he's eating. I think it's a very good card to get in your second house reading. I think that maybe this eclipse will reset something in your finances, and although it might be chaotic and frustrating at the start, ultimately, if you work hard, and you always do, this can be a promise of big, like, you know, of big abundance and big fulfillment. Because 10 of Cups, 10 is the last card of the row of tarot before the court cards. Cups is the element of water, of emotion, so it means satisfaction, it means emotional satisfaction, emotional bliss, stability, and the kind of the feeling that you've reached it all. You collected all of your 10 cups. You had like experienced so much, and all your experiences are so fulfilling and pleasant. And then the Empress, and the Empress is Venus, and that's your ruling planet. And she is, of course, the goddess of money. She's the goddess of income. She's the goddess, again, of fertility. You know, you got lots of gods and goddesses of fertility in your reading. So to be honest, like for the second house matters, I think those are brilliant cards to get. So the Empress, although although she's, of course, like, you know, she's about the big harvest and collecting something and accumulating, accumulating and growing and building up, you know, creating, she's also, of course, with this spiritual dimension, she is the mother, she's the divine mother, she's the unconditional love, she's the full acceptance, she's the motherly love. Her energy is very soft and very accepting. So with this eclipse, don't lose this. Don't like, you know, either be all like work and accumulating goods, but try to preserve this emotional dimension to it, because you got cups and you got the Empress, and the Empress, it's also about sharing. So like, because it is about transformation, and transformation about the reset and recombination of different elements, it's also about giving, you know. And there was this in Latin, you know, in Latin religion and Roman religion, there was this Latin phrase, do ut des. So I give so that you give. So I give to you so that you give me. It is this reciprocal exchange, which is a very nice idea and very productive. And I think that it's important that to kind of also remember that you become richer, you accumulate only when you share. And I think that's a very good idea. That's a very good advice from the cards, to remember to share. If you have enough, give more to less fortunate people, and that's how I think you gain more, like, you know, and ultimately you gain more satisfaction, because 10 of Cups in the second house, it is about kind of money bringing you satisfaction in your life. And that's not necessarily only by having lots of money yourself. Satisfaction might also come from the sense of having people to share your assets with. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for joining me. So just a quick recap: lots of people got Fools, which is new beginnings. Card number 0, complete new beginning. Surprisingly, lots of people got King of Pentacles, and I can only relate this to the fact that the eclipse is very much the time of big confusion and misunderstanding, caused not only by the very nature of eclipse, but also by the fact that it triggers change, it triggers shifts. And when shifts are happening to lots of people at the same time, we might feel a bit lost because we don't know how to operate in this world as yet. But nonetheless, I think that it is exciting. I think that this energy of new beginnings is what we need, even if it is difficult to digest at the first start. I think that that's pretty much what we all would deserve. And I just finish shuffling my cards, and as a bonus for all of us, what was at the bottom of the deck is the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune, card of Jupiter, the wheel which keeps rotating. The wheel keeps turning. We're all moving somewhere. And I can only wish you to not be overwhelmed, do not be afraid. Be excited about the transformation the eclipse wants to bring into your life. Accept it and keep the hard work done. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time, and I'm sending you love as always, and talk to you soon. Bye.